I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, Avengers vs. X-Men, Jeremy versus Gary. We're not really talking about Avengers versus X-Men this week, Gary. We're going to instead jump into Uncanny X-Men number 10, meet our favorite new villain, the Unit, and get just a little bit of background on Hope, I guess, is what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, setting up some background, prelude to a background.
Mm-hmm.
Is what we're getting. Unit, we're going to talk a lot about Unit this episode. If Unit was a cooler design, think about how cool this fucking cover is.
Yes.
Like Unit, who is a silver dildo with arms and a head. Mm-hmm. But if he wasn't that, he's smashing the X-Men logo over a big pile of like unconscious X-Men. He's like flipped the word uncanny upside down. You can't even see the E in X-Men. Like, it's very cool looking.
Yeah. This is super dope.
Yeah.
But he looks like a dildo with a head and arms, Gary. Like that's what he looks like.
From the torso, he's fine, and then your eyes just go down. It's like, oh, there's no leg.
Yeah,
like it's just a penetrode. Like it's just a implement, a sizing implement for pussies. Like it's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
it's this guy, and he's a fun character. I like everything about him, except that he doesn't have fucking legs.
He
floats around like a.
He just floats around like a dildo, man. I mean, there's literally nothing else you could say about it. Like, I can't believe it went through the entire design process and got to the page, and nobody was like, "Are you sure? Like, are you absolutely sure this is what we want to roll with? Like, this is the thing. This is the one."
Yeah. If nobody said this, then Marvel needs to hire us as outside consultants. Like right now, our fees are really reasonable. But just like, let us be on the team and just run designs by us. And we're going to be like, no, you can't do that. It looks like a sex toy. And they're going to be like, oh shit, should we do legs? And I'd be like, well, let me ask you a question. Do sex toys have legs? And they're going to be like, not usually. I'm like, there's your answer.
There you go.
Like, yes, you should do legs.
You should definitely do legs. Or wheels.
Got in one.
Or tank treads.
Yeah,
there's
a lot of ways to get around, man. Or just make him a torso. Get rid of the whole bottom half.
Fucking
it looked pretty stupid, but it wouldn't look. Yeah, MODOK him. He'd look pretty stupid, but he wouldn't look like something that like is a G-spot aid. You know.
Fucking
A.
Crazy. To set this up a little bit, we're at basically the end of an arc where I think, from what I can understand, the Avengers and the X-Men have kind of had to join forces to fight this super alien computer hybrid sentient thing, and the only reason this crosses over with the Avengers versus X-Men stuff is because Hope is like in it, and at the very end she's going to get like some downloaded info on the Phoenix Force. But all of this seems like it takes place before the issue of Avengers versus X-Men number 1, which we just covered. So
very much.
If this feels like out of place to you, I'm with you, because I've read this. Like, and this, if you go to the Marvel Unlimited app, this is the next one that like Marvel says to read this one next. So it's very confusing, and it's not really. Honestly, if it didn't have Unit, I would have talked to Gary and been like, "Let's skip it." But it had fucking Unit in it, so we had to cover it.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about Unit. There's some things that happen here that elucidate some of the backstory shit that we're missing. You know, so this is where I found out. Like Colossus has Juggernaut powers. Mm-hmm. Which I knew happened at some point, but I didn't realize that's what made him bald, which is pretty funny. This is also the first time we ever covered anything by Kieran Gillen, who is a writer I'm not super familiar with, but is well respected.
Yes.
And I like the way that this, I fucking like Unit. I'm into Unit. This makes me want to know more about Unit. And I like the writing of this. So I am curious about Kieran Gillen. And his X-Men run.
The everything I've read by him is good. I think that the Young Avengers arc stuff is probably like his go-to stuff, and it really seems like Marvel is putting some pieces together to make that happen in the MCU, which I am incredibly excited about. Like,
oh yeah,
no spoilers for Loki, but like some shit that's happening in Loki is also indicating like some Young Avengers stuff that I am more than fucking here for right now. So.
Art is by Carlos Pacheco, who I've always really liked. Mm-hmm. Just real superhero stuff, but like good and clean. So we're going to Sword Command. They're kind of dispatching X-Men and the Avengers, and they find Unit here. and they're going to dispatch the X-Men, but not the Avengers. Brand is doing some stuff where the X-Men and the Avengers are teaming up to fight a singular Fin Fang Foom, which later they're implied to be many of these Fin Fang Fooms, which like I like the idea of there being multiple Fin Fang Fooms.
Me too. Yeah.
But the fight doesn't really matter here because they're going to get extracted right away.
Yes.
Danger's like, hey, this is where Unit is, and Danger's like, hey, Cyclops, that's where Hope is as well. And he immediately wants to jet.
Yeah, and he tells Captain America, like, hey, we're leaving, and Captain America's like, yo, there's a Fin Fang Foom here. Like, we kind of need you, dog.
Dude. Yeah.
And he basically tells Cyclops, hey, you've got other teams. Let your other teams handle that. And Cyclops is like, nope, we're the best. We're leaving. And they get Magic, and I'm just happy to see a comic book with Magic in it that we get to cover on this podcast. She's probably one of my favorite characters, so it's cool that we get to see her even for just a little bit. And yeah,
well, and we figure out what's going on with her a little bit.
Yeah,
here,
a little bit.
This is worth it for backstory stuff, and I'm really curious about that. The Cyclops is talking to Brand and is like, hey, she's like, don't dive in, you need to be briefed. And he's like, I don't usually do that, but this is Hope. Like, we don't have time for that. Like, Hope is too important to risk, And then we cut over to Hope, who's hanging out in a frozen lake with Unit. And this is our first like full body view of Unit. If we're not calling him a dildo, he looks like a test tube as well.
Yeah, sure, like a vial,
but like a cartoon vial. It is like Mr. Freeze on top of a cartoon vial. It's one of the dorkiest things I've ever seen in my fucking life.
It is that, and I think it's important to note too that like they're not fighting. Hope and him seem to be just like wandering around, wandering through the snow. When Magic kind of jumps out of one teleport or one portal, shoves Hope into another one, and then follows her through, like immediately securing her out of the attack zone. And the rest of the X-Men pop in, and it's all like the X-Men don't even like stop to talk. It's all aggression all the time. It's full attack zone.
Yeah, and they're pretty out muscled here. Unit has a power that I'm always really sympathetic to, which is people have to do what he says. Ever since like when I a teenager and read Preacher for the first time, I was like, that is a cool fucking superpower.
Yeah.
Colossus, as the Juggernaut's running towards him, and he immediately sizes up. He's always unstoppable. That's useful. Change your trajectory and hit the ground and give me a shockwave. And he has to do it. Like there's no choice. So instead of hitting Unit, Colossus hits the ground and knocks out a bunch of other X-Men through just the force of his impact.
And then he immediately turns around to Magneto and is like, hey, put the big one up in space for me. And Magneto just sends Colossus up into space. And he's real like Unit has this real holier than thou kind of smarmy attitude. Like, I am the evolution that you were trying to get to kind of situation. And it's just works for me. It's really good. Again, if he had a bottom half, this would maybe be like my new favorite villain. Like, evolve some legs, dog. What are you doing?
How can you have all this power but with no legs? Like, I'm not trying to sound ableist. Like in real life, you can have as much power as FDR. You can have so much power and not.
Sure.
But in a comic, like, just, this is supposed to make me think this looks cool. It's not like he's differently abled. He's not in a wheelchair. He's a floating vial. It's ridiculous. He takes out Magneto. He's like, consider this a compliment. You're the most dangerous one, so I'm going to take you out. Storm shows up, again, kind of blurring the lines as to what team she's on, and strikes him with lightning. And he's like, you started this. Like, and again, underlining for the viewer, like, this wasn't a fight, He tells her to lose control, so she ends up flying. Wind carries her off to the side. Emma Frost shows up and is like, I got you. Like, you have no mental defenses. And it turns out he has like an outer mind that he uses to fool telepaths.
Yes. Which is, hilarious. Like this like sometimes when I read villains like this, like I'm into the power, but I'm not into like, oh, he has an answer for every single possible thing, right? Like that's he has the comeback to every single possible insult or power that they can throw at him. Namor shows up and he's like, oh, hey, like, I bet you can't use any of this vocal trickery on me. And he's like, nope, but I can use pheromones to make you and Emma Frost make out. And they just immediately start stripping naked and humping down with each other.
a generalized pheromone barrage out of his palms. And it makes a hiss sound. It's so fucking. I once, when I was a kid, you know how when like you're a kid and porn was any port in a storm, you know, one of the VHSs me and my friends had access to was a space station porn that all these people were on a spaceship. All these people were on a spaceship and they harvested these plants, and the plants made everybody horny, like this. But what it would be, it was like, it looked like a normal porn most of the time. Like eventually the characters became naked and shed their sci-fi uniforms. But just every once in a while, it would cut over to this rubber plant that would just go and squeeze out some juice.
Oh, God.
And then it would cut back to the sex. It was fucking incredible. It was
that is awful.
Yeah, we had a field day with it. Like it was very funny to us as kids. But that's what this is like. It was like the unit origins.
That's,
you know,
just awful. I'm just
yeah,
like,
it was disgusting.
Like I'm just imagining like doing what you naturally do when you're a young kid and you're watching porn, and like you're like almost there, and then like there's a plant and you're like, oh, what? No, go back to the other stuff.
Well, no, it only cut for like a second. It would just cut for a little bit of the plant going doot, and then go right back.
That's worse.
You know, don't underestimate the unstoppable juggernaut power of me being a teen doing what teens do to that movie.
13-year-old trying to get a nut. Yeah.
Yeah, that was not about to stop me. You know, it could have went on for quite a while and not stopped me, to be honest. But it made watching it, you know, we'd watch it with friends to store things later with the spank bank. And you wasn't like, hey, let's have a communal sex experience. It was more like, I need to share the wealth.
Yeah, of course.
You know, like my friends got to see this because you know, and we all were just like, what the hell? Like, you know, it's fully clothed, not masturbating to it and just watching it and very, very confused.
Unit does remark that his pheromones don't usually work this well, so I don't know if they're trying to play into a love triangle with Emma Frost and Namor. I don't know if that comes out later or anything. I have no idea.
I think they are. Yeah. And it's serious. They're both taking off their pants as well.
Yeah.
Like it's
not a make out party.
Like,
this is a getting down to business in the snow party. So
yeah, immediate snow party. And he uses this against Cyclops, like, oh, she's supposed to be with you. You know, this must be embarrassing. And Cyclops gets pissed and zaps him. He just says ouch with a period, like it didn't really hurt him. And he just says, keep your eyes shut. You know, he's doing all non-lethal stuff, you know, here. And this is where he calls him out. He's like, you're attacking a diplomat. You know, I was looking forward to meeting you, you know, but nobody else would do this. Like maybe the Spartans or some alien warriors would just fight a diplomat, but we didn't even get a chance to talk on your knees, and forces him to kneel, you know, and he's doing his power play here. And this is where Danger pops up.
I love
it's like, hey, you got pheromones, you got powers, but it won't work on me.
I do love that Unit says, if there's one thing I can't stand, it's impoliteness, because I am, as you know, I've been consumed with Hannibal Lecter content over the last few weeks of my life. So this is very big Hannibal Lecter vibes. I just can't stop picturing Matt Mikkelsen playing this cat in the MCU. I'm just going to float around in a tube. Like he's either going to play Unit, or he's going to play somebody that looks exactly like Unit in the next Kojima video game. Like it's got to be one of the two things.
If Mads Mikkelsen played a sentient mind control dildo in the MCU, I think I would have to delete all my accounts for all the horniness that would flood all of my timelines on every level.
It'd be too horny. You'd have to hide. You'd have to mute me, Gary. I'm going to tell you that right now. He's a handsome dude.
I'd have to mute everybody. Like it would all be muted. Like it would be. I would only follow corporations from that point, and not the horny corporations. Not like the Steakums wants you to get laid corporations. It would be entirely like Sony, you know, like it would turn into everything I hate about Twitter. Like I follow mutual banking. That's it.
Oh my God.
It's my only source of outsized news.
I can't wait for you to text me like a fire Crisco tweet. And you're like, check out this shit, dog.
Yeah, dude. This shit looks like it's really non-stick. What's been going on with you? It's non-stickness is off the hook.
It's very funny. And yeah, like you mentioned, Danger shows up. I continually I don't think we've talked about this on the podcast before, because I don't know that she has shown up on the podcast before. Has she? Maybe she has.
I don't remember. One of the worst designs in X-Men history.
That's what I was going to go to.
I'll say.
Yeah, like when they transform a Danger Room into a sentient robot, and they give her, you know, tits and dreads. I'm just like, why? Like, why are you doing this? Like, this is just not great. But she shows up. she's, inorganic, so this stuff shouldn't work for her, and she's able to imprison him using beams.
Mm-hmm. I love him. Once we know that this is him being caught on purpose, I love this. Like, no, this is police brutality. Like, it's very funny. Like, and this is where Hope like comes back from the portal with Magic. Is like, hey, stop this. Like, he wasn't doing anything. We hacked him. He tried to put us to sleep, and he was being nice. We were just talking. And he's like, yeah, that's true. And I love this little foreshadowing. He's like, that first part is definitely true. The second part, that's kind of you. But he doesn't say like he's being nice because he's got ulterior motives.
Yeah.
Here. And, he's like, Hope is saying, hey, I already said that, like, I was forced to stay here. I wasn't intending to. I tried to get around this. And Danger's like, I didn't tell anybody because we were fighting. This is a prisoner. It needs to be captured. That's what we have to do. And he goes along with it. He's got his smug grin. He's like, yeah, great. Lock me up.
I love this because they keep calling him an escaped prisoner, and he's like, I'm not an escaped prisoner. I'm actually a prisoner whose cell unfortunately disintegrated around him. I'd be grateful if you could lock me safely up. Like, he's playing this like up to the T, and it's very funny to me. And like, and Scott at this point is just very done. He's like, man, get Colossus from space, and let's just get the fuck out of here. Let's go home.
Well, he's saying let's get back to the Avengers. He probably feels a little bit bad about leaving them to all those Fin Fang Fooms.
Sure, yeah.
And he does. He shows back up, and they're just like, we're finished. Bran says the last of the Fin Fang Fooms, and Cap calls him out. Like, he's like, I've seen your team in action. They're really incredible. You should be proud. But you said your number one priority was saving the world, and you've shown that isn't what it is. He starts to fight back, and they just leave.
Yeah.
Or he doesn't start to fight back. The team starts to fight back, and Cyclops like, get us out of here.
Yep.
Fuck this shit.
They go back to Utopia. Psylocke is there, and says, "Oh, hey, Agent Brand is here in actual person. She's which is pretty rare for her.
Yeah, it's off brand.
Yes.
She Cone of silences them. Puts them in a little like privacy tech shield, and is basically saying like making a deal. You've got we don't have a prison that's good enough for UNIT. You guys have a prison good enough for UNIT, and we're supposed to extradite him, but we're not going to because he's really useful. And she kind of explains him like, imagine a nuke that talks planets to death, which I love that line.
Me too.
Leftover weapon from a precursor race to force peace across the universe. He's a polite, pleasant monster. I really like this. This is a cool concept for a character.
Mm-hmm.
And Cyclops is like, why would I do this for you? And she's like, listen, when you were securing Utopia and rescuing Hope, you were also running a death squad. You were running X-Force. And he's like, did Hank tell you? He's like, no, he didn't tell me anything. We figured it out. So this is the moral event horizon that Wolverine and him broke up over. It was a big deal when he kept putting together X-Forces and had them kill people.
Yeah. Even though Wolverine, like I've read some of that stuff. That's Remender, Rick Remender.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's really fucking good. Yeah, I'd highly recommend it. I haven't looked ahead a lot. I don't know if any of that stuff crosses over with the Avengers versus X-Men stuff, but I hope it does. I think it'd be interesting.
So the kind of follow up to a lot of those characters and stuff show up in the Unity Squad.
Okay.
The Uncanny Avengers stuff that he did.
Yeah.
Which is extremely cool. I like Rick Remender quite a bit.
Me too.
The kind of arc of that comic is Wolverine becoming disillusioned with that through Kid Apocalypse, and it's like all shit that in my wildest dreams I would never think. Like, if you told me as a 20-year-old, like, hey, Kid Apocalypse is a real good comic, I'd be like, that's so fucking stupid.
Exactly.
Like, I would be so like why are they making a Kid Apocalypse? But it's actually awesome. Like, it's a really, really good comic. Someday we'll be able to do it.
It is very much one of those things that you hear somebody say and you're like, there's no fucking way that this would work. And then you read it and you're like, motherfucker made it work. I was wrong. I love
the New Horseman. Like the New Horseman he does, the Civil War drummer like guy. That guy's like just incredible, like cool design. So basically, she's like, I have a secret. You have one of my secrets. He says, you're blackmailing me. He's like, no, we're blackmailing each other.
Yeah.
Which I love that little bit. You know my secret. I know yours. Let's keep each other's secrets. So where Colossus pops up and he shows up, he's like, the prison, my sister, because where we find out magic is being kept in a prison. Cyclops thinks he's saying, let my sister out. And he's like, no, you misunderstand. Like, put me in. You know, if Magic is in a prison until we need her because she's dangerous, I'm more dangerous. So I should be in a prison until you need me. This made me want to read about the Colossus turning into Juggernaut shit.
Yeah.
Like his internal struggle with this stuff was interesting to me, and I hope we get more of it.
And especially like also as a Magic fan of like, why are they locking Magic up, and like how are they letting her out and about and teleport and do stuff, and then also have her locked up in prison? Like I'm extremely curious about this.
Yeah.
They also call it the X-Brig, which I think is just like, I mean, like, do they have an X-Paddy wagon? You know what I'm saying? Like
the X-Galley. They have X every part of a ship.
It's fucking ridiculous. We go over to where Danger is holding Unit, and he's calling her the Warden, and we realize very quickly that this is all a trick. This was, you know, he tells her like, hey, go get Hope Summers, and then you can... She kind of blows him off, and she's like, no, I just said please, and that immediately like fries her circuits. He was inside of her head almost instantly and just pretended to go along with all of this stuff. And she's not going to...
Classic pretend to capture.
Yep. And she's not even going to remember that this happened.
Yep. And he actually shows some emotion here, you know, like at her condescension. You know, he's pissed. Mm-hmm. You know, go get Hope. Hope shows up and she's like, you said that you could tell me about the Phoenix and you can help me. And he's like, I can do that. I think we can help each other. We've got a lot to talk about. And that's the end of the issue.
I do like him calling Danger a gymnasian with pretensions. That's very... Oh, yeah,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Very funny line to me. This also, the last page of this, when he's talking to Hope, really illustrates and kind of drives home, like, y'all should really talk about how old Hope is, because in this comic book, she's 25, and in Avengers vs. X-Men, she's 15. Like, y'all really got to figure
16.
This shit out.
Yeah. Her body is developing at an alarming and also sometimes in a reverse rate.
Yeah, it's someone's taking the like slider in Dark Souls and just moving it all the way to the left and then all the way back to the right.
Yeah. And you know, there's a million words that have been said about like how comics sexualize young women. Mm-hmm. You know, like everybody has to be drawn like, you know, look at her ridiculous hip bones. Yeah. Like she's got so little body fat that the tops of her hips, like her thighs are not flush with it. You know, it's just silly. Yeah, but this is cool. Like I think that when I get back into like just reading comics for fun before bed, I might start with this Karen Gillan X-Men and see what's going on with it.
Yeah.
Because I thought this was cool. I thought this was fun.
I did too. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Yeah, and so this doesn't really have a whole lot to do with Avengers versus X-Men. I'm kind of confused as to why it's even in here. Both are the website that we're using to to create our list, and also Marvel itself kind of suggested this, but it's not a whole lot of Hope content for, 23 pages of comic books. But we got the unit, Gary, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. No, it was worth it to it did the thing that it wants to do. Like making these a crossover is supposed to get me into other comics. Yeah. And joke's on them. I already bought it. They're getting no more of my money for this, and they're not showing me any more ads.
That's true. So yeah, thank you everybody for listening. If you enjoyed this, you should go check out other podcasts on the Duckfeed network. They have stuff for video games. Mm-hmm. Everything to Guppy is what seems like a free-form improv podcast now. I don't even know what the fuck you guys are doing over there anymore. Watch out for Fireballs. It's a very serious video game podcast. So we run the spectrum over at Duckfeed, my man.
It's true.
Go check all of that stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it. And you'll probably find something you like. I like to hope. You can also go to patreon.com to support us, patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Leave us ratings, reviews, or tell your friends. Spread the word.
Yes.
All those things are awesome.
We appreciate each and every one of them. We'll be back in a couple of days with Wolverine and the X-Men #9.